Welcome to On the Edge, brought to you by Elite Sales Edge with your host, Stephen Brown. In the series, Getting to Know Your CXOs, we'll be diving deep into conversations with various C-level executives. We'll explore the formidable challenges they encounter, the critical decisions they make, and the lessons that have left a lasting impact on them. Sit back and prepare to gain some insightful knowledge from the leaders who shape the business world.
Welcome to On the Edge. This is another episode of Getting to Know Your CXOs. I'm here with Teresa Caragol. Teresa is the founder and CEO of Achieve Unite, Inc., a strategic consulting and education firm that provides channel, partnering, and business acceleration services to leaders in global enterprises. With Teresa's leadership, Achieve Unite offers partner and channel development, go-to-market strategy, and channel integration. I screwed that up. Teresa is the founder and CEO of Achieve Unite, Inc., a strategic consulting and education firm that provides channel, partnering, and business acceleration services to leaders in global enterprises. With Teresa's leadership, Achieve Unite offers partner and channel development, go-to-market strategy, and channel integration, as well as executive education forums. Ms. Caragol is a sought-after influencer with more than 20 years of experience across over 50 countries, building and managing multi-million-dollar indirect channel teams and strategic alliance programs from inception to sales success. She's developed numerous executive advisory boards and think tanks and co-founded the Bapti Women's Leadership Council. Ms. Caragol has received numerous IT industry channel accolades and is a member of the CompTIA channel faculty. Ms. Caragol has received numerous IT industry channel accolades and is a member of the CompTIA channel faculty curriculum development. Prior to founding Achieve Unite, Inc., Teresa held several senior executive roles at Extreme Networks, Ciena, and Nortel. She holds a bachelor's degree from Virginia Tech and an MBA from the University of Wisconsin and an executive master's in leadership from Georgetown University Business School. Welcome, Teresa. We are so glad to have you on the edge.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here. And I'm in the midst right now of finishing my NACD board certification. So that's my next big, I have to take a proctored exam soon.
Wow, that is awesome. Well, that is quite the impressive resume. I really appreciate you spending time with us here on the Edge. Just a little bit about this series for the audience out there. This is Getting to Know Your CXOs, and it's an educational forum aimed at helping sales professionals understand how CXOs think. Because being in sales for over 35 years, I don't think most sales folks really get how C-level people think. We think we do.
So true.
But when we get in there, it's a whole different story. So just getting down to earth, talking about real topics in business and sharing different C-level insights is I think is very valuable. So welcome.
Thank you. And it's also a matter of, I thought when I was leading channels and partners at Extreme Networks, Ciena, I understood partnering and I understood what it was like to be a small business in North Dakota and Light River and all of these companies. I didn't have a clue until I became a CEO myself and a founder what it is like to be on the other side. So I think it's also CXOs and it's different sizes of businesses and stages of evolution of companies.
I agree. So that's actually a great segue into the first question I have for you. You've secured your first C-level position. So you're that new CEO coming in. What do you think are the most important things for that CEO to do in the first 30 to 60 days to make sure they get off on the right foot?
Oh my goodness. So I have an unbelievable religion in this. In the first 30 days, it's incredibly important that you are trust building. And I talk about relationships, understanding people, understanding motivations, building the relationships, putting depositing chits and carrots in so that down the road, when you have to have hard conversations, you've got a stable foundation of which to build on. So that's one. The second thing is you have to listen, you have to assess, you cannot offer your opinions. You cannot say, well, when I did it this way, none of that, right? It's all about assessing curiosity, effective questioning, and getting an accurate picture of what the landscape is and what's really happening. And it's only after you do those things can you then form in the 60 to 90 days your strategic plan and your go forward plan and your priorities. And where are you today? And we call it the North Star, the joint North Star. What's the timeline? Where do you want to be? What does that look like? And then what are the stair steps to get you to that? And that's, what I would call the 60 to 90 day piece of it.
You just made me think of something about when you said it's coming in, building trust, which is key. And that's a common theme I'm hearing across most folks. But the other thing that you just like, boom, the light went off is just because it worked somewhere else doesn't mean it's going to work here.
It's the worst thing that you can do. And I see so many leaders who fail because they did that early on. And they came in thinking they know it, thinking there's a better way, thinking, and so the how you do things really matters when you come into a new organization.
Yeah, it's funny if you think about it, right? If it was that simple, if it was just like, oh yeah, here's the CEO playbook, step one, here you go. Yeah, it's just, so that's enlightening. So being a leader is an honor and privilege, but like in order for us or anybody to be successful is the team that's around you. And that's the second question I have for you is it's kind of two parts. One, how do you go about building a team?
Yeah.
And then the second part of that is for you, what's your belief or definition or attributes around what makes a good leader?
So one, how do you go about building a team? Actually, let me start with number two about what makes a great leader, because I have a lot of religion on what makes a leader in this day and age. In this day and age, in this era, I truly believe the best leaders are genuine, they're authentic, they care about the people, they have the ability and the knack to build relationships. We have the widest generation in the workforce right now, right? Age 20 to 75, 80 years old, and everything in between. And we as leaders have to be able to build relationships and trust and guide all of those. And so you need really strong muscles in what I call partnering, trust building. And we have a whole psychometric index that measures that, and we can get into that another time. But that is a really important part of leadership. Leaders have to have, in any good organization, leaders have to have a strategy. They have to have a plan. And it isn't about your plan, it's about all of our plan. And everybody's got to believe in that plan. And we've got to get marching to the same drum. I see so many organizations where silos are broken and not everybody is marching to one strategy. And there's this incredible power when you can break down those silos and you can get everyone marching to a plan. So I think that's another important part of this. And that's both the vision, the North Star vision, and that's the execution steps. So it's this, I call it like the seesaw of balancing the strategy and the execution. And there have to be equal skills, or you have to put someone around you. If you're really strong on strategy, you got to have somebody on execution, or vice versa. So I think that's really important in leadership. The other thing that I think is super important in leadership is this book that we're authoring and publishing soon is all about partnering success. I fundamentally believe the best leaders look everywhere for win-wins. They look at how they can Stephen and I can create a win-win together. And it becomes a part of their DNA. It becomes a part of how they operate. They genuinely want to do business to create win-wins. And so I believe that this next era of leaders are true partners in every sense of the word. And I think leadership is changing a lot right now because of all these other factors.
And that's just a key attribute that comes through that I've seen for good leaders. I'm curious on, because it kind of leads into the next question I have for you, which is around decision making. Decision making is tough enough. Then you add a global pandemic on top of that. So leaders today have had an education that they weren't planning on. Nobody said, oh, hey, by the way, a global pandemic's coming. So I'm interested in your thoughts on that. And then if you could just share with us the process that you use when you have to make tough decisions.
First of all, decision making is for indecision is a decision. And I, as an entrepreneur, I have been guilty of indecision is the decision. And I see that and I realize how important it is to make a decision and not leave it up to chance. I've watched many leaders spend too much time analyzing, too much time looking, especially when you're a small business, when you need to decide and you need to move forward and you need to move quickly, because speed is really important in small businesses, as you probably know. And so I think that's one thing is, breaking down the indecision and making the decision and making commitment to make the decision. Then the second thing is, as you decide, I am a decision maker who seeks a lot of input, sometimes too much input, to be honest. And I am a very collaborative decision maker. I like people to be part of the process. That's a strength, but that's also sometimes a weakness. So I have to know when to make the decision. Sometimes it's not the time to make the decision. So knowing when to actually commit is a really important thing. Actually, Dan Mondor, who is a friend of both of ours, 100 years ago taught me about the funnel is open, and then as you come to a certain place, you close the funnel and you go. And and knowing when to close that funnel is the art of decision making. And I still remember Dan as it comes into my mind a lot when I think about, because sometimes the funnel should stay open and you made the decision too fast. And so you have to balance when to make the decision. And then the other thing is you don't need to make every decision. I as an entrepreneur, in this organization, I need to not make all the decisions. And you get into the spot where you think you have to make all the decisions. And so that's another area I'm working on, continuing to develop and improve, is empowering all the other folks to make the best decisions to grow the business.
Wow, that is so true. So Dan is actually going to be a guest on the show coming up over the next couple of weeks.
Wonderful.
We both work for him. He's a great leader, great friend, great colleague. Probably one of the best coaches I've ever worked for. And he's got a great blend of humor, right? Which really, really just helps help this kind of stuff.
Humor is a great leadership quality as well. Humor, light, fun. I think that's something we didn't talk about earlier, but that's really important in leadership, I believe.
It is. Yeah, it is. And because, business is serious, but it's not that serious. There's a lot of things going on that are really a lot more important than that.
One of my good friends who is a CEO, she says, you need to take a break. We're not saving lives here today.
Right. Yes.
It's important that.
I want to pick up on something you said there about sometimes getting stuck. And as leaders, sometimes we do get stuck. It's like, oh man, is this the right thing? Do I have enough input? Do I have too much input?
Right.
And that's why it's so important to have great people around you that can tell you, hey, Steve, let's go or not. And this person, this gentleman that used to work with me, he came up to me one day and he says, hey, he goes, have you ever read this book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There? It's like, no, I've never heard of it. And he goes, no, you should read it. It's great. So he hands me the book. I'm like, awesome. And then he goes, hey, pay particular attention to this chapter. It's on adding too much value. I'm like, all right, what are you trying to tell me? He goes, no, nothing. Just read the book and I'll tell you. But as I read the book, that was one of the things that I didn't realize I was doing as a leader. And it's so important when people come to you with an idea like, hey, here's what I'm thinking about doing. Don't let our natural inclinations like, oh, that's awesome. Well, what about, and what if you, well, now it's not their idea anymore.
That's a great point.
And I was like, that's the best piece of feedback I've ever gotten in my life. And I just, I appreciated that. But the importance of that team that's around you.
Well, on the other extreme of that is shutting it down, So one is trying to expand it, trying to put all your wisdom on it. The other one is, oh, that's just not a good idea, and shutting people down, So there's a middle ground that you have to find in ideation of from others that is really important. And I think in high collaborative cultures, people are empowered to bring ideas, and they are empowered to, it becomes part of the culture and part of the environment, which I'm really proud we have at our organization. And some of our best things came from innovations and ideas from others. And I'm also a big fan of one idea, but then when I never put on an engagement one person, we always have 3 people, because 3 makes 1 + 1 + 1 equal 50 or 100.
Yep.
And the amazing power of a high degree of collaboration and innovation when you put more than one brain on something.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And
That's
AI,
awesome.
because we can't have a conversation without AI in all of this.
Well, speaking of AI, you must be reading my mind because that's where my next topic is. So it's a broad topic. It is. So we could probably spend an entire afternoon talking about AI, but I would love to hear your thoughts on AI because it's coming into it's here. It's coming into businesses, and if you're not embracing it, I mean, that's my opinion. I'll be quiet. But I would love to hear your opinion on AI and how you think it's going to impact business. And as a C-level, what should you be thinking about around AI?
So, first of all, AI, I couldn't agree more. AI is everywhere, and you have to decide where you want to leverage it. We are doing a lot in the AI space right now, both with our trust building psychometric index, as well as our own solution offerings. And we're taking AI to the market with our partner in the AI space with private knowledge banks. So we're really focused in our segment. And I think that would be my advice, is to decide what you want from AI. Do you want AI to improve your own processes? Do you want it to improve your own products? Do you want to make it your own product that you're taking into the market, right? And those are 3 different swim lanes that don't have the same requirements. And so being really careful about how you're going to use it. And then obviously all of the security and the intellectual property and the private knowledge. And, that is a big deal. People think, oh, well, if I go ask ChatGPT or I go put something into ChatGPT, I still own that. Not anymore, you don't, because you just put it into the ChatGPT world. So this privacy, it's completely changing how we approach our intellectual property, how we retain intellectual property, and that whole domain, which is going to become really, really important for companies.
And I think as you get familiar with it, I think it demystifies it a lot. It's going to create more jobs, I think. Now, it might change some jobs.
It's going to change a lot of jobs, and it is automating processes that you don't need people for. I mean, I think
True.
It is going to eliminate jobs. It is going to stimulate other jobs, and there will be new opportunities for people. But I think that we would be naive to think that it's not eliminating jobs.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. That's a better way to put it, because if you just sit still and you don't embrace this technology, it will pass you by.
It will pass
Absolutely.
you by. And your organization, because too many companies are embracing it, and we're disrupting how we do business, and we have to. We're going to stay competitive.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about you now. So you've worked at some really cool companies, and you've started some companies. So tell us a little bit about those experiences, and maybe pull out 1 or 2 things that stick out to you, that really you carried forward with you. You learned something from it. And then the other thing that I always like to talk to people about, because I love, and I've only been an entrepreneur here for about, not very long. And I've always appreciated people that step out there and do this, because there is nobody else, right? But what I like to understand, or what I appreciate, is the passion. What drove you to do what you're doing?
Right. Well, so a couple of things stand out in my mind to start with that. One is the day that I went from a solopreneur consultant to becoming an entrepreneur. And that was probably a year, 14 months into my journey of making that shift. And that was a very deliberate shift. And I said, wait a minute, if boys can build companies, I can build a company. And I'm going to go do that and create a picture. And then you manifest it. And during that process, and even over the last 6 years, I've learned about happy accidents. My friend Bill Rozier talks about happy accidents, and happy accidents are not really accidents. And you watch, and sometimes they don't turn into things, but I've learned to always play them out, because oftentimes there's something magical there that actually becomes something that then builds on something else. And it's just this incredible way that it works. And I don't think I paid attention to the universe and how it impacts business and how you manifest that in the world, and then it becomes a reality. And so that is something that I've learned being an entrepreneur. The other thing that I have the most incredible mentors. I would never be sitting where I'm sitting now if it wasn't for these mentors: Bob O'Malley, Ron Roner, Karen Slatford. even Dan from 100 years ago, but these people, I was vulnerable. I have been extremely open and honest and transparent, and they've helped me learn and to become better. Jim Richings, who, he'll be really hard on me sometimes, but you know what? That makes you better. And learning how to handle that and how to deal with that is really important. So these mentors are amazing. And then learning how to accept hard feedback and to accept hard input to get yourself to another level. That's been hard for me, but we're getting there. It's a journey.
Yeah. That's cool. Well, it's important. Like, it's one thing for somebody to be hard on you, but when it's coming from a place of, when it's coming from a place of love.
Yes. Right.
And they know that you're better than that. And they know you've got it in you, and they find a way to challenge you in a way that makes you go, yeah, I know that is, I can do this.
Yeah.
Rather than just yelling and screaming at you, which helps no one.
No.
Yeah, I've never liked bullies. I've never dealt with it very well. I've always stood up for those who can't stand up for themselves. So I
always teach my kids that too. I say you have to stand up for people, and you especially have to stand up for people who can't or won't or don't.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So that is awesome. So I have one final question for you.
All right.
And it is, what advice would you have for the modern salesperson dealing with, when they get the opportunity to meet with the C-level? What should they do?
Oh my goodness. All right. So I have some very critical advice. One, don't do what I used to do, which is just go and talk because they hate that. I hate that. Be very succinct. So one is succinct. Two is know what you want. What are you trying to inform? Are you trying to ask for action? What do you want out of that conversation? And then ask for it and be deliberate about it. Plan the conversation whenever possible. And then the last thing is relationships. So take the time and the energy and learn how that person builds trust. If you know PQI, not everyone builds trust the same way. So the way Stephen might build trust is different from the way Teresa builds trust. And so understanding the language of that executive and how they build trust so that you can adopt yourself to become better at trust building and relationship building.
That is awesome. It's funny. One of the things that, that when I work with different sales organizations and sales folks, what I try to pull out of them first is their bad habits. And I just talk to them, about, so tell me, how do you approach a sales, an opportunity? How do you learn about a company? I mean, typical stuff. It's kind of simple. And then well, number one, I got to get to the CEO. I'm like, okay, is that your first stop? Yeah. If I can get to the CEO, everything else figure out. I'm like, really? I said, most CEOs I know, that I've worked with, they have a team around them.
Right. Who are there?
And they're working on all kinds of things, and they're running projects, and they're actually managing the stuff that you're going to be deploying. So you're actually doing yourself a disservice because you haven't gotten to know his team, gotten to know the challenges. So when you do show up to that CEO, it's like, hey, I've met with your team. They've outlined this problem. Here's how we think we can solve it. We'd like to talk to you about it. Now, all of a sudden, it's like, oh, so you're going to help me drive sales by X%, or you're going to help me get more efficient here. So yes, getting to the C-level, the ultimate decision maker is key, but, open up that notebook a little bit when it says do your homework. That, you really got to work hard. Sales is hard, but it's also a lot of fun.
Not to go to the CEO. Sometimes it's not, sometimes you're better to go to the CFO or the CPO or someone else. So I think it's just as important to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to go, know when not to go.
Yeah. Awesome. So before we wrap up, I would love for the audience to know a little bit about Achieve Unite. So please, let's tell them a little about Achieve Unite.
Well, Achieve Unite is the partnering success company. We specialize in everything related to partnering success. So our people development, the most important thing is people have to develop partnering muscles and skills. And so we focus in PQI, trust building, in the hard skills of partnering. Our fastest growing programs are our partnering success methodologies, and teaching that to sellers and teaching that to partner managers and the partner executives. So that is one. And then the second part of our business is all about the business acceleration. So how do we help the companies that want to be good at partnering, that want to leverage channels and distribution networks and franchises and all these different partnering models? How do you excel in that? And we have some incredible assessments and just a science to how to do that right.
Awesome.
And yeah, we have a book coming out that teaches everything we do in the book as well. So
I'm waiting on my copy that I can read, and we'll definitely want to have you back on the launch of that book. That would be so great. So Teresa, thank you so much for your time. I know how valuable it is. It's been great having you, and I'm sure the audience is going to love this. So thank you again.
Thank you so much.